Это база.
Это база.
Это именно самая такая база.
Все, это база.
Холодец существует, он очень вкусный. Холодец. Это вкусное блюдо, а Холокост мы не одобряем. А Холокост это было очень плохо.
Смертная казнь. Расстрелы. Лишение жизни человека за его преступление. Это морально,
Правильно,
это
Валя,
этично.
так и
Мы не собираемся отвечать на эти вопросы в Грентхэме. Но мы здесь, чтобы рассказать вам о холодной, жестокой правде. И сегодня мы хотим показать вам, как это выглядит и насколько это эффективно. Мы собираемся протестировать различные методы казни, используя
Блять, насколько эффективен выстрел в затылок? Я даже представить себе не могу.
настоящее оружие и настоящие боеприпасы. И надеемся, что вы, ребята, увидите, как это выглядит. Потому что главное...
Лучше на английском там рофлы есть. Окей, хорошо. Тогда я включу русские субтитры.
Of what it looks like, because what is important here on Grantham is what, Micah? Science. That's right, science, and we are here to bring you science in a world.
Давай, наука расстрелов.
But before we do that, we of course have to thank the biggest sponsor of the channel. The biggest sponsor of the channel is the who, Micah?
Денег не дам.
Sonoran Desert Institute.
That's right, Sonoran Desert Institute. If you're looking to get your start in gunsmithing, they are the people to go to. We love them. They do sponsor our science, and it's not always.
Ну да, но я вижу, тут наука прям куда деваться. Вот мой дед чекист бы, конечно, многое отдал для того, чтобы посмотреть такой видос.
Science, but it is
Дед, прадед.
science. So big thank you to them, and of course,
Робеспьер
we
не
cannot
справился с выстрелом в голову, живи с этим. Ну, кстати, на самом деле удивительно много людей неправильно стреляют себе в голову. Как-то они умудряются, блять, мазать. Я так понимаю, из-за того, что при нажатии на спусковой крючок они же к этому, к вот, нижней челюсти прижимают, да, к этому, к подбородку. Там оно может соскользнуть и пробить челюсть, но не задеть мозг. Эффективнее по старинке мотыгой. Именно поэтому надо это самое. Ну, как банан, короче.
get who, Micah?
Все в GTA RP, разумеется. В реальной жизни никогда ничего такого не делать.
Which we are the only influencer to have ever bullied a real company into releasing a Skittles sticker. I don't know if I'm proud. Great optics, great price. We love them. And of course, guys, if you're looking to get better at dry firing, Mantis turns your gun into a dry fire machine. We love it. I use the hell out of it on my off time, just shooting the TV constantly. Rest in peace, Jennifer
Будет
Lawrence.
сомневаться насчет эффективности выстрела в затылок, да ты рофл.
My name is Michael Jones. I am a
Это рофл
retired
100%, если
military,
это есть.
avid shooter, and big proponent of gun science. And today we're going to be answering some very cool questions. Now, what we have right here is a ballistic dummy from Ballistic Dummy Labs, a very good approximation of what the human body is. We
Да,
have
эта хуета, кстати, стоит каких-то запредельных денег, и насколько вот этот гель реально похож на человеческое тело, хуй его знает на самом деле.
bone, we have
По
blood, we have
хорошему делу тут недостаточно просто органы запихнуть вовнутрь, там залить этой красные жишки и, не знаю, из чего сделано, да, там пластмассовых костей нахуярить. По идее, тут нужно каждый мускул отдельно, каждую связку отдельно. Но это очень условное приближение, да, там первое, второе приближение. Баллистический гель, но баллистический гель, насколько он похож на человеческое тело? Да не.
organs. And this is about as close as we can get without using what, Micah?
Real human beings?
Pedophiles, which aren't really human beings. So we're going to use these as a stand-in, and we're going to be starting with, I think, one of the most interesting executions, and that is how they execute people in Utah. Thank you, Mormons. Now, Utah still has a firing squad. Now, firing squad used to be used a lot more, not so much anymore because they considered it inhumane, and hopefully we can prove that not true. So, in Utah, what they use is Winchester 94 rifles,
Я
chambered
не
in
знаю, я не вижу проблем с негуманными казнями, если честно, если это за дело.
30-30. Now, we could not get Winchester 94s, and we couldn't get Henrys, but we told Rossi that we were going to be doing a execution video,
Хорошее правительство может расстреливать как хочет.
and they happily sent us guns, so thank you, Rossi. The rounds used are Winchester silver tips in 30-30. This is a fairly old ammunition, and as much as we can tell from our insider source, these are the actual rounds that are used, and they were very hard to source. So, in Utah, they use 5 30 rifles, and one of those rifles has a wax slug in it. That way, if any of the guys, you know, are very sad about shooting somebody, then they can, you know,
Play mental gymnastics.
yeah,
with
be like,
themselves.
oh, maybe I had the wax slug, because apparently it feels very much so like real recoil. So in any case, only 4 of the rifles are actually firing a slug. So we have 4 shooters, each firing 1 round of Winchester 30-30 silver tip into the chest of the dummy, and we'll be doing our first execution video. So enough time.
Да, радостно. Тут нужна плашечка лайвлик. Зато электрический стул очень гуманен, или инъекция, которую делает человек, который никогда никому иглу в вену не вставлял. Ну, блядь, реально, там, не знаю, есть повешение, есть расстрел. Ну, какой нахуй гуманизм в том, чтобы человеку, ну, иглу тыкать? Ну, много ли в этом гуманизма? Такое ощущение, что тут логика такая же, как с этим в отношении этих либерах американских к оружию. До тех пор, пока оно деревянное и выглядит не страшно, оно, в принципе, ну, проходит под радаром, да, нормально, заебись. Какой там калибр и там, что за система, вообще похуй абсолютно. Я думаю, что здесь идея похожа. Главное, чтобы оно выглядело нормально.
Talk, let's get on with it.
Главное, чтобы вот оно выглядело так, чтобы у него у кого жопа не горела, и все, и заебись.
To make sure our guy right here feel a little calm. We have a little bit of nicotine.
Гуманизм в отношении к семье казнимого. Так а многих из того, кого казнят, и семьи-то нету никакой. Это ж типа турбодегенераты.
This is a, you know, pretty intense. So with all that being said, let's kill him. All right here we have our posse. We have stockpile defense. Boise, Idaho.
Гильотина, кстати, по идее, тоже очень гуманная.
Who are you representing, Pat?
Urban tattoos.
All right, cool. So we have these vagrants. We're going to be putting this guy out of his misery. 4 rounds of 30-30. Mike, are you ready?
I am.
3, 2, 1.
Ой. Ой-ой-ой. Ну, бля, нужен добивочный.
Look at
Я
the
еще не уверен.
flowering off those
еще
rounds
не
entering.
уверен.
Like, that is beautiful ballistics when they came in.
He just doesn't have a chest anymore.
He does. Look at, so we have a couple different impacts. So to be clear, there's a little bit of lag and stagger between all the shots in slow-mo. It's pretty simultaneous, but like you have to imagine, like even police officers all shooting together, or you know, whatever jail officers who are shooting, like they're not going to be perfectly timed. You're kind of going to get 4-ish rounds in around a second. It's kind of brutal.
He's gonna feel at least one of them for a little bit.
I mean, you would with lethal injection too. How long does lethal injection take? Like 30 minutes?
Сколько? Так, обычно 5 минут, но если проебаться, то до 2 часов. О, это вот как, напоминает историю, правда, я не знаю, насколько правда.
Где работаешь,
Значит, с этими, с капсулами для суицидников.
Слово о реалистичности этих манекенов. Хороший видос КСТ. Инстант.
Так, сейчас, спасибо большое. Значит, где в Швейцарии эти, вроде как легален assisted suicide, да? Там при помощи нажатия на кнопку кем-то еще. Там же сделали эти капсулы, которые заполняются азотом, и человек там теряет сознание и умирает быстренько. Там, значит, была и новость, что там капсула не сработала, и человека пришлось добивать, блядь. Его пришлось буквально задушить, сука. На чем это мы? Ой, хорошо. Ой, хорошо. Только кишки остались. Еще раз. На нахуй. О, красиво, красиво. На чем-то мы? Так.
I'll take this any day. First round when it came through, you can see completely shattered the rib and went straight through the heart. That's death right there. Right here, we have these two, came through the lung tissue, blew out the ascending aorta. Upper round right here, traveled through, shattered the collarbone. If we come out the back, this is where it gets crazy because we had 2 rounds exit out through the lungs. You can see all this tissue coming out. We had 1 round go through the spinal cord. That's your donezo, dude. And it kind of got stuck right there. And the other round also crushed through the spinal cord as well as through the heart. You're death, man. This
Ну
is
да, но страховка это не покроет, конечно.
quick. I
Бегать не
would take.
сможет.
Okay, would you take lethal injection?
Yeah, for sure, because they put you to sleep first.
It doesn't always work. Doesn't always work. What about
Так в смысле, если ты спишь, то тебе похуй.
chair over this?
No.
Hanging.
No.
You'd rather get shot first?
Yes, absolutely.
I would get shot, 100%. Now, we've tried an American execution method, but what about some other countries throughout the world? Let's do some of those. So, Micah, we're going to be doing the Soviet/the Russian execution method. You know what that is?
I don't know. It's usually something
Да,
like
ну,
you
в России вроде нет смертной казни.
exercised free speech, so they shoot you in the back or something. Give you some spicy tea.
That's pretty good. So you're going to be
Да,
taking
это
one
мы.
round of 9x18 to the back of the head.
Ебать,
They're very
Макарова.
economical. They don't have a lot of money. So that's the best way to save the money because they have a bunch of it. So whether it's a Makarov or if you're Polish or what have you, 9x18, which, if you don't know, is a little less than 9 mil and a little bit more than 380. Not a lot of power. You're about to get Abraham Lincoln. We're not losing to the Ukraine.
Wow. That was
Какого года видос? Год назад. 17 декабря 23. Так в смысле, это уже было после того, как лег контрнаступ, проебался. Ладно, окей.
We're not losing to the Ukraine.
wow, that was anticlimactic.
Yeah, that was super
Wow.
anticlimactic. It's just not that much.
It's like they wanted to suffer a little bit.
Yeah, okay, but come take a look at this right here. So it did straight up, star pattern in the back of the head, and you have all that gunpowder that's burnt into there. And we did have a piece of the, looks like, of the jacket that exited out through the nose and penetrated through the skull. So certainly you're going to die. You're gonna die taken around to the head like that. It seems so unnecessarily brutal, even compared to like 30-30. Just don't get
А где? Не понимаю.
executed in Russia, dude. Oh, Jesus.
А где неоправданная жестокость-то? Наоборот, один выстрел, один труп, да, патрон лишний не расходуется, даже дырки почти не остается.
Next up, we have Thailand. Now the question is,
Короче, я не понял, Машну.
how would Thailand execute somebody? It's actually quite interesting. So what we have here is we have the person we executed is tied up against a post, and their back is facing towards the shooter, which is a machine gun that is clamped into a vise. We then have a sheet that is between the accused and the shooter so that they don't have to watch the person getting shot. Now, originally they used an older submachine gun that was quite loud, and they would fire a burst of 15 rounds of FMJ into their back until they hopefully died. They wouldn't always die. But apparently that really scared the prisoners because they could hear the automatic gunfire, so they switched over to an MP5 SD, which is very, very quiet. As you know, the SD stands for super duper quiet. So the execution method for Thailand is 15 rounds from a submachine gun into the back through a sheet. Now they paint a target on the...
Ну чё, база? Чё нет? Если смысл расстрела в безболезненном результате, выстрел должен быть в основании черепа, туда, где связан спинной мозг с головным, ФБР так обезвреживало любителей поясов. Окей, допустим. При выстреле с такого расстояния газ от выстрела попадает в раневой канал, превращает мозг в кашу. Окей, хорошо.
the sheet to ensure that they're hitting the person correctly. Now, we don't have an MP5
И нажмешь
SD,
на
so what
детонатор, и
we
с
are
импульсом
using is an
телем
MP5
моментально.
suppressor,
Ну вот специально для такого придумали детонаторы, которые на разжатии работают.
firing subsonics, we're going to get the exact same ballistic effects. So,
Ну, кстати, обвес в него прямое почтение, уважаю. А чё у него на краю поставили? Он же падет. И ебанули Гоя. Про РКН есть средний сериал «Проповедник», там персонаж, который стренился вслед за подружкой, но ему только разъебало рот, теперь у него на лице жопа. Самое смешное, что его ГГ отправил в ад, и там он... Чё там? Сочувствовал Гитлеру, которого там попускали Чингисхан и Наполеон. Еще была сцена с Глори Холлом. Ой, это ужасно.
so bad. I don't like that at all. Makes me feel very uncomfortable. There's slugs going through the heart, partially exiting, cracking the sternum. You're dead. Come here. Look at the back right here, Micah. Like, look at all 15
Желатиново
rounds right there.
насажен. Ну, кстати, похоже.
That is death. It's just brutal. I feel like there's a cleaner way to do it with a gun, and it's not 15 rounds from a submachine gun into the back. I mean, they don't do this anymore, but it just felt wrong. Okay, conclusion for Thai execution method, 10 out of 10 do not want it to happen. So far, I'm taking the 4 rounds of 30-30. What about you, Micah?
I'll take the 4 rounds 30-30. Then this, then the Makarov.
Makarov very last. It seems so unnecessary. Now, our Thai guy right here is pretty injured, but he's not dead yet. So we're going to do another American special. This is a specialty of the Navy SEALs. We're going to do what's called a canoe. Is it a authorized killing under the laws of armed conflict or a war crime? That's not for me to decide. I'm just going to show it to you. So what it is when a combatant's on the ground and is still alive, a safety round is put under the chin, through the head, and then apparently will create that canoe-like effect.
Why is it called a safety round?
Just to make sure they're dead, because you don't want them like popping up with a gun or pulling a grenade, you know, something like that. You just want to make sure they're not alive. Safety round. Lives are expensive, ammo is cheap. Give them another round. And of course, we'll be using the HK-416, which is was one of the weapons of choice of the Navy SEALs, as authentic as possible with the actual military ammo. I can't wait. Interested to see what it looks like. Oh!
Вот это гуманизм.
It just opened him up, dude.
It's a literal canoe. There's like a perfect, like, U going in his face.
Let's give him another one. Let's give him another one. You ready?
You're not satisfied with the result?
I'm just... Dang. Yeah, that's, extremely, that's it, man.
I see why they call it a canoe.
Well, there you have it. Now we're probably going to do the most famous execution to have ever occurred. Bonnie and Clyde, specifically that bitch Bonnie. If you're not familiar with Bonnie and Clyde, they were outlaws, and a posse was sent out after them, led by Frank Hammer. What a badass name. Now, we do know from varying accounts, or we believe, that when the posse ambushed Bonnie and Clyde, that Bonnie, one of the posse members, stepped out and put a round through his brain immediately. There's good evidence to suggest that Ted Hinton, then with his Colt monitor, unloaded about 20 rounds from his magazine into poor old Bonnie right here. Now, this is a representation of Bonnie. She's a little bit smaller. So what we have right here is we do have the Ford V8 glass. This is a really quality reproduction. We do have the dummy behind it. And of course, more importantly, we have the Colt monitor. So if you're not familiar with the Colt monitor, it is basically a BAR that has been tricked out. It was called the FBI's fighting rifle. You have a large brake to stabilize it.
Да, BAR это Browning Automatic Rifle. Это практически легкий пулемет.
And it is firing 30-06. Very interested to see the damage. In the post-mortems on Bonnie, it very much so shredded her body and shot off her hand and stuff. So it was pretty brutal. Now, of course, she was shot with other rounds, but let's see what it looked like from the Colt monitor.
Суть сериала в том, что ГГ обладает глазом бога и все, что он скажет, выполняется. Рофлов там до хуя, но он гига кринжевый и очень хуево снят. Вот инстант оттуда.
Ну-ка.
May I have your attention? Your attention, please. Everyone, please be quiet. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to do something for me, so please listen very carefully.
Why should we do anything you say? Plum cake?
Because I'm murder fucking Hitler!
Окей. Я думал, там дальше будет панчлайн, но его здесь не было. Так, окей, возвращаемся. Ну да, Бонни, конечно, сильно поплохело после этого инцидента. Ухажеров резко поуменьшилось, поубавилось. Ну да, там прям мало чего осталось. Но справедливости ради, ну как, ее, получается, расстреляли с ручного, блять, пулемета.
Bonnie, no! Mike! Bonnie! Bonnie, I'm sorry.
Да ладно, чё ты, еще 10 минут женщина.
I'm gonna pop up a couple photos right here. Here's what's really interesting to me, and that's that I'm really happy about this. The glass behaved just like it did in the photos, and the actual car is still on display. So I think it's really interesting that we see kind of the same pattern and the same bullet size from the 30 cal from the Colt monitor. I think that's really cool. There's like a nerd in me. But also what was really interesting was that glass shot back into the dummy. You see all that glass and shrapnel coming in. This was probably horrifically violent when it happened. They probably died quite quickly. Well, especially Clyde. Rest in peace. Another thing to consider too is that they were a slight upward angle. So that probably accounts for the fact that Bonnie's head was not sawed off like it was in the case of our video. But the 30-06 clearly had the power to do it. You have to understand it was a moving car. They were firing probably a ton of adrenaline. They probably didn't get as precise hits. They're a little bit further away. But it certainly demonstrates the power that was coming from just one of the weapons that was fired at them during this time. Pretty incredible. This is the way I'd want to go. Just taking 20 rounds from a Colt monitor. Just gone, dude. It saw my head off, dude. Just do it. Well, that brings us to the end of the execution video. We've tried out a lot of different methods right now, and I think I'm going to rank them by how I would like to be executed. I will say Colt monitor would be my number 1.
Так.
My number 2 is the 3030, and after that, don't let me do any of the other ones because they seem horrible. Micah, what are your top 2?
I think just mostly style points, the Colt monitor wins.
Yeah, style points, the Colt monitor is pretty freaking cool. And then 3030.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the last thing that's going to happen to you, it better be tight.
Ну, слушайте, это ужасная русофобия. Маленькие не хотят даже, чтобы их расстреливали с Макаров. Вы представляете, насколько надо ненавидеть русню, чтобы даже отказать ей в том, чтобы быть расстрелянным с Макарова?
You know, compared to like hanging, lethal injection, and some of those other things, I'll take getting shot, dude. That sounds way better.
Да, лучше швабру.
They don't want to clean up.
Yeah, they just don't want to clean up everything. In any case, guys, hopefully you enjoyed it. I think it was really interesting.
Ну, кстати, да, кому-то же надо будет со стенки соскабливать мозги. Это тоже проблема.
Were in these different execution scenarios, maybe which ones worked better, which ones didn't, and the effects that we saw. Stay tuned, we have way more cool things going. As always, guys, train, get trained. We love you guys. We've got nothing else for you.
Насколько гуманно, по-христиански использовать для умерщвления приговоренных путем исследования сетчатки глаз, машины для штырей в глаза, активируемые самим приговоренных? И будет ли такая машина дешевле, чем иные средства казни?
Зачем такая экзотика? Можно просто пулю в затылок. Спасибо за 100 рублей. Машины для штырей в глаза, активируемые самим приговоренным. Ну это, блядь, пытка уже. Спасибо за 100 рублей. В Беларуси сильно не парятся, там в камере смертника все присыхает, по словам Полы. Ну, в смысле, там же остаются какие-то куски мозга, они же гниют. Или там между процедурами проходит столько времени, что, в принципе, можно и хуй забить. Ладно, окей. Дальше у нас украинская литература. Гроб, кладбище, Тарас Шевченко, Куколд. Факты.